guys, how you all doing? Brickreations here. Welcome to the 4th week of building Takodana in LEGO. And I just want to apologize for not releasing a video last week. I just genuinely didn't feel like I had enough progress done to make it worthwhile. So instead I thought I would leave another week open and get in those last orders that I needed to get some serious progress done, and then do exactly that, get a lot of progress done. And I'm really happy with what I was able to achieve this week, and I think you guys will be too. I got a lot done with the castle, and it has really transformed from when you guys last saw it. So I'm really excited to show it to you guys. Let's get started. So here's the mock so far, and I'm really excited to show you guys all of the changes that I've been able to make and the progress that has happened over the last 2 weeks. Now this whole area over here has hardly been touched these last 2 weeks because I've been mainly focusing over there. Now you can see the castle actually looks like something now. The last time I left you guys, it was just the very bare bones, those little fragile fragments of all the buildings that were kind of just giving the overall shape. But now I did get quite a few major bricklink hauls in, and I was able to get a lot of progress done with that. But before we get onto the castle, I want to show you guys the beach. Last time I saw you guys, it was about right here, so I was able to continue wrapping it around over to about that corner, and I do have enough pieces to go around the back. But so far that's what I've got, and I'm quite liking how the waterfront is looking at the moment. And of course the next stage will be to continue the beach up until there and kind of finish in this area and start getting the beginnings of the forest. And then the castle itself, this was definitely the most exciting part of the last 2 weeks. It was very fun to get building on this castle. There was a lot of experimentation involved. I know I was trying to be as accurate as possible to the movies, and I am still trying to do that, but of course there are little things here and there that you have to change to make it fit and be more accommodating to the space that you have around it and how the rest of the mock works out. You kind of want to downscale some areas, prioritize some others. So I had to work out those little kinks as I went along. But overall, here is the, well, I can't say finished product, but here is what we have so far. Now, this is normally a flat wall that goes up on here. Oh, and by the way, this building is where the bar is going to go. But normally this is a fairly flat wall, and I thought I'd spruce it up a little bit by just putting a few slopes here and there and just adding a little bit of an extra dimension, and I think it turned out quite nicely. And then of course we have the main shape of it, which is shown by these huge slopes that kind of stick out. I'll put a picture on screen of what I mean, but those are very prominent in the actual building itself. Then this section sticks out and it's at an angle, and of course, like I said, this was difficult to originally design, but I did that about 2 weeks ago. Now here was just more implementing it and building upon that idea. So this building overall is the most boring of all of them. There's nothing really that we know that goes on in here. Of course, this one over here is where they walk up, all the flags there. And I think it's pretty prominent. It is the main entrance. This one is where the bar is located. And then this one, we have absolutely no idea what is in there. And really, it's not given that much screen time. So I had a little bit of liberty to play around with it. So I extended this idea of putting the slopes on the side over here. And then everywhere along the wall, I was just throwing in a little bit of color with the, I believe it's called dark nougat, or one of those colors, earth orange. One of those kind of, yeah, earthy colors. Just sprucing up the wall a little bit. And I added these slopes over here. And then I continued this all the way along the side. And I think for a fairly boring building, I think it adds a little bit to it. And then of course we have this little curved section that sticks out over here on the end, and this one is going to be mostly for show. There's going to be no interior in this little section. Now I haven't fixed it in place, so technically it's all wobbly, but that's something for another time. Until I build up this section, I won't really know how to connect it properly, and then of course I'll need to put a roof on it. But once I get to that point, this one will be a little bit more fixed up. Now over here is probably the most boring part of the whole castle. It's just a very flat, boring wall that sticks out all along here and then connects over there with that one hinge brick. But it is mostly just a boring flat wall. Now, also you guys might notice that I didn't put any wall for this center section right here, and that's going to be because for this building, because I don't actually know what belongs in here, and the only real proper scene that we see in Maz Kanata's castle is the bar, I felt I don't even need to do an interior for this, so it saves me a lot of money and pieces by just not putting dark tan walls in here. So it's just going to be a bunch of filler brick, very loosely built, just enough to support the roof. And then of course you won't see this center section either, so that will also be filler brick. So that whole section right here will just be filler brick in order to support the roof, which you will see. So moving over to the front, you guys can see the little bit of detail that I put over here to kind of elevate the path leading into the entrance, and I think that turned out quite well. You know, I took that idea from this that I built over here, and I really liked how that turned out, so I thought I would do the same over here. Just covering up this filler brick that you can see all around with rock, and I'm thinking on this side, I'm just going to have elevated grass, so that's going to come up to that level. Instead of having it all rocked off, I don't think that will look as good. But as you can see, just a little bit of rock over here, and you can see these the slopes used with the indented one to give that really cool effect. Then you walk through this. By the way, this path will be refined, so it won't look as blocky as this. And then again, the same sort of style that you saw everywhere else with the slopes and the gap in between them. And I have a few of these which I threw in every once in a while just to show that there is some deterioration going on. Also over here, I don't have any inverted slopes for in dark tan, so what I did is I just took normal 2x2 slopes, which I have quite a lot of, and then I put them on snot bricks, and I think they get, whoa, that went really dark. Sorry about the lighting right here, but hopefully you guys can see. I think it gives a good effect for some form of an inverted slope. And this is basically just to give that extra 1 brick's width to make it look like there is some sort of pathway that leads around the wall. Also, one little thing I'd like to mention before we move on is this very blatantly obvious tan strip of bricks across this back of the wall. Now the reason why it's here is because I have to support these slopes that are acting as inverted slopes right here. Just giving a little bit more detail, and I know I don't want to change that, but basically I don't have any dark tan snot bricks. The only ones I do have are in tan of a great quantity, and what that does is it just looks very, very obvious. So what I'd like to ask you guys is go down in the comments and suggest any ideas of how I could cover this up and it would look fairly normal without making it look like I very obviously covered something up. I'd like to see what you guys say about that. Okay guys, so now I want to talk to you all about what I'm planning to do in terms of progress for the upcoming weeks. Now starting over here, as I said before, I do want to finish off this area. I think it's fairly easy to do. All I really need to do is just slope down this beachfront over here and slope down this area over here, and then kind of leave this green over here. Just put little patches of detail here and there. But also, main thing I want to say is this whole area of green is supposed to be a forest. And as you can see, there are no trees here. So that's the main thing I want to get done. First of all is to plate off a good amount of this, add the ground detail, and once I've done that, I'll be able to put in all the tree trunks, and then eventually the foliage will come next, and then it will really start looking a little bit more like a forest, and not just like a big patch of green. So I'd also like to get quite a lot of progress done on this castle. Now this is going to be viewed mostly from the exterior, so the interior will be something that lacks quite a lot of detail, and I'm fine with that because no one will actually ever see it in the end. But I don't have too many pieces at the moment to continue building on the exterior, so if I do want to get a little bit of progress done, that will be mostly on this bar scene. I think I could get some headway on this and really experiment with doing all kinds of bars and seating and just making it look really detailed. And then lastly, I would like to get some progress done on this far corner that I've honestly been neglecting for the last few weeks. I haven't gotten any progress done. Now in case you guys forgot, this is going to be that little hilltop base where the First Order and the transporters initially land, and they all run down these paths, and that's pretty much how they invade the castle. Now this is all going to be built up on a hill, and the way that they will get to there is up this path that will lead like that, and will pretty much continue in the same sort of fashion all the way up until there. But of course that will mean that the ground level will also have to elevate, so I will have to start getting some building done on that. Alright guys, so to finish off this video, I'd like to talk to you all a little bit about vehicles. Yes, vehicles. I haven't really spent much time talking about this at all over the course of the past few weeks, but I'd like to take this moment and just very briefly explain to you what I'm thinking about. Now, of course, this is technically supposed to be a battle scene, the battle on Takodana, or the battle of Takodana, I forget which one it is. But there are vehicles involved, of course, and that's going to be both the First Order and the Resistance side, and of course there are going to be plenty of minifigures here. So I think I'll explain basically what I'm thinking. So of course over here in this corner is going to be the Millennium Falcon, and I'm going to be buying the 2019 version, so the one that just came out about a week ago for the Rise of Skywalker. I think that one looks the best, and frankly, if I'm going to buy a Millennium Falcon for the first time, I best buy the newest one, and then hopefully I'll be able to use it for whatever the next movie has in store for us. Then of course there's this whole scene where the X-Wings fly across the water, and it did take quite a lot of time deciding which one I wanted, but ultimately I thought that I should go with the most iconic, which is why I decided to get Poe's X-Wing fighter. Now you could have gotten the normal, regular Resistance X-Wing fighter, which is gray and blue, but I thought the black and orange version of Poe's X-Wing fighter not only would be more iconic, but frankly, I thought it would stick out a lot more against the water. If you think about it, a gray and blue X-Wing over the water, it's kind of gonna blend in and not look as prominent when you look at it. Well, if you're just right here and you see an X-Wing flying over the water, if it's blue and gray, it's kind of gonna get lost in there. But if it's black and orange, I think it's really gonna stick out. So that was the main determinant for why I picked Pose over the others. And then of course, in that corner over there, in that little hilltop base, as I like to call it, is where I'm going to have a First Order transporter land, and that's going to be, I'm only going to get one, and it's going to be landing there, and I think it's going to look really cool. And then I did think about getting a TIE fighter as well to kind of combat the X-Wing that will be flying over the water, but I'm holding off on that idea for the moment because I think this mock is going to be more of a ground battle type of mock, so I don't think it will be super necessary to have a TIE fighter, but I'm still keeping it in mind in case I do decide that I will later on want to include it. So there you go, guys. That is week 4 of building Takodana and Lego, and hopefully you all enjoyed. I know for me it was very exciting to get on to building the castle this week. It was definitely the climax of building Takodana so far. But with that, guys, thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, turning on that notification bell, hitting that like on this video, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.